handle was wide enough, I'd go punt that goose right now. Throwing that out there. But if you guys aren't going to see it, it's not really working. It might be worth it.
In the wilderness, he calls his sons and daughters to the wilderness, but he gives grace sufficient to survive any test, and that's the painful purpose of the wilderness.
So, I always carry with me a $2 bill in my wallet. Like you got right here. I do this because when I was younger, my dad taught me, if you always carry a $2 bill on you, then you'll always have a couple bucks if you need them. And it's really true, because a $2 bill, it's rare enough, it's different enough, that you're not just going to grab it and spend it on just any random thing. And so, because it's rare, it's a little more precious, it's a little different, you hold on to it, you don't just pull it out. And so at any moment, if something big happens and I need just a couple bucks to get me out of a jam, put a little bit of gas in to get me a few more miles, or whatever the situation might be, I've got a couple bucks in my wallet. Now, yes, years later, as I've come into adulthood, $2 is not worth what it used to be, even a few years ago. But still, there have been times, I've used it on several occasions where I was in a real crunch, desperately needed it. It often was to get a gallon or two of gas in my car. Actually, you can't even get a gallon of gas for $2 anymore. But still, to get me just a little further, or to cover just a little expense. There have been several times where it has bailed me out of a jam to have that $2 bill. I didn't come up with this. I didn't think of this idea. This is something that was passed on to me by my father. You know, of all the Proverbs, of all the sayings, of all the things that my dad would repeat again and again, cliches you might say, the biggest one I remember over and over again my whole life is, the answer's always no unless you ask. And some of my college friends might even be laughing right now because they heard me say it so many times. I even heard them say it a few times. But this is just one of those things that it was that constant reminder that there's so many situations in our life where we really want something. We really want to ask a question. We really want to see if someone will do something for us, or if something's available. We really want to apply for that job or do that thing, and we're a little nervous because we really think the answer's going to be no. And it often will be. But not doing it is no anyway. And most of the time, you lose nothing by going ahead and trying, or going ahead and asking the question. As a kid especially, there's so many times when you try something new or try something difficult and you don't do it right. You fall, you skin your knee, or you just mess up and you think you look stupid. And the next time anyone asks you to do it, your response is, "But I can't." Sometimes you haven't even tried it once, but it just seems so hard, and you're so nervous about failure that it's scary a little. And so you say, I can't do it. But most of the time, success doesn't come because of natural ability or because of genetics. We have to teach ourselves, our bodies, our minds, to be able to do specific tasks, to be able to accomplish specific goals. It takes constant effort. It takes attempts and failure until you finally weed out all the wrong ways to do it, and you figure out that way that works, and you move forward. And so my dad reminded us, can't, never could. If you can't do it, you never could do it. And the reason you never could do it isn't because you lack the ability. It's because you lack the tenacity, the perseverance. You aren't willing to keep pushing and trying until you get it right. What holds you back is not ability. What holds you back is willingness. Can't, never could. Won't, never will. I'll never forget one particular day. I was out weeding in the garden, and I was really in a hurry just to get back and play. I was being lazy that day, and I was rushing through, and I left a lot of the small weeds and the little stuff. Didn't even see it. I was just trying to hammer through real quick. And my dad came out and caught me. And seeing my half-done job, he pointed it out to me and questioned me on it. And I told him, kind of a lame excuse, but told him that, I was just, doing an overview real quick, and I was going to come back and hit the details later. And my dad just sighed, shook his head, and walked away, saying, No one's got time to do it right, but everyone's got time to do it again. He never said it again. I don't even know if he knew he was saying anything profound to me. But that phrase has stuck in my head ever since then. And every single time that I've almost done a halfway job on anything. But it's that constant reminder that a halfway job doesn't make any sense. Why? Because we're doing the same halfway job again and again and again and again and again. Because we won't just do it right the first time. Take your time and do it right. Because a little time now saves you a lot of time later. You know, growing up, we didn't have a whole lot. And so one thing that my father would often remind us, knowing that we were going to have to work for everything that we had because, well, most everyone has to work for everything that you have. He would always remind us that nothing is free. There was one specific time, talking to one of my brothers, my dad said this, but being raised in a Christian home, this time my brother had a witty response ready to throw back at him. So when my dad said, nothing's free, he looked back and said, salvation is. But my dad did not miss a beat. And looking back at my brother, he said instantly right back to him, someone had to pay for it. And it's true. Salvation isn't just flippantly given. Jesus Christ had to pay the ultimate price for any one of us to be saved and free from our sins. He died our death. He served our sentence. He took our punishment on himself. He paid our debt. But that debt had to be paid. Nothing is free. Anything you are given is of great value exactly because it was not free. And we have to work for the things that we have in this life. We're not owed anything. We're not entitled to anything. And we've got to be willing to put in what it takes to get what we want and what we need and what we're going to give to others. And the sacrifice we put into it is what gives value even to the gift. One word from a father can be a lifetime of change for a son or daughter. One virtue instructed, one careful praise given, one encouragement of right living, one rebuke of wrong, one correction of error. They may carry with them to hold themselves to truth and righteousness and good for the rest of their lives. And just imagine then what a lifetime lived as an example of carefully chosen words teaching truth and good and godliness. What difference that can make on a life. I hope that I can live up to the example that my father and grandfather lived before me. That I can live up to the standards that they taught me of what a man should be. And I hope that I can be an example to my son and I can teach him what it truly is to be a man. But men, each one of you has a responsibility to do the exact same thing. And realize that so many people fearing or slacking or not wanting or selfishly abandoning that responsibility, you don't get out of it. Your absence speaks the same volume as your presence, and you not being there is going to have just as much impact negatively as you being there and teaching the right things would have had positively. You men who have walked out on your sons and daughters and wives, shame on you. You have no idea the damage you've done. It's not too late to turn around, to seek them out, to make things right. But with every negative, there's also a positive. Fathers, men, your words have a power you don't know. You can undo damage that was done to you. You can break cycles. You can change the course of your family history. Those of you who were raised right, you can pass that wisdom on and add to it. You may look around at the darkness of this world and feel so powerless to do anything about it, but you have no idea what one life changed can do, what one word well spoken, the difference that can make in the life of your children, your family, in the life of your neighbors and your community. Fathers, it's time to step up. You have no idea the difference you make in a whole generation to come. It's on you.
And that's the painful promise of the wilderness.